Hello, this is Mizuki from Japan. Today I'd like to share one Japanese folklore, Crane's Return of a Favor. This is one of the most well-known stories in Japan. I had a book of this story, and when I was a little kid, I read it on my own, or sometimes I asked my mother to read it for me before going to bed. There are several different versions of this story, so I want to share one of them this time.
Once upon a time, in a remote village, deep inside the forest, there was a young man named Yasuke living alone. One day, Yasuke went out alone for hunting on the winter snow-covered mountain. On his way back home, Yasuke found a single crane in a rice field, flapping its wings in distress. The crane couldn't fly due to an arrow stuck in its wing. Yasuke felt pity for the poor crane and kindly pulled out the arrow, and the crane soared high into the sky safely. That night, Yasuke woke up after hearing somebody knock on the front door. Who could that be at this hour of the night? When Yasuke opened the door, there was a young lady standing there. I am on my way to the town to start working there, but I got lost because of this heavy snow. If it's fine with you, would you please let me stay here for the night? That's fine. Please come in. The lady introduced herself as Otsu. After that night, the snowfall went on for several more days. While Otsu was staying in Yasuke's house, little by little, Yasuke felt drawn to Otsu, and eventually, he didn't want her to go to the town, wishing for her to always be with him. One day, Yasuke asked Otsu to stay in his house and be his bride. Otsu gladly accepted his proposal and became Yasuke's wife. However, since Yasuke wasn't so wealthy from the start, they were having a tough time making ends meet. One day, Otsu said to Yasuke, I will weave a cloth. I am sure it can be sold at high price in the town. When she was prepared for her weaving in the next room, she said, Please promise me one thing. While I am weaving, don't ever peek inside the room. With these words, Otsu closed the door and shut herself away inside the next room. Since that day, Otsu devoted herself to weaving for 3 days and 3 nights straight without having any food, let alone any water. On the 4th evening, Otsu finally came out of the room and gave Yasuke a piece of cloth. The next morning, Yasuke went out to the town with the piece of cloth. That piece of cloth was sold at a considerably high price in a clothes shop there. Thanks to that money, they could live without having to worry about food shortage for a while. However, due to the long-lasting winter, their money and food were gradually running out. Yasuke asked Otsu to weave another cloth. All right, I will weave a cloth once again, but this will be the last time. Otsu again warned Yasuke to never peek inside and shut herself in the room. After spending 4 days and 4 nights, Otsu came out of the room with a new piece of cloth in her hand, looking much more tired than before. However, the new cloth was much more beautifully woven compared to the last one. The cloth was sold in the same clothes shop at a surprisingly high price. When Yasuke was about to leave the shop, The shop owner encouraged Yasuke to bring in more woven clothes. "Look, I'm begging you, Mr. Yasuke. You have a tough life, don't you? If you bring more of those clothes, you can easily say goodbye to worrying about food every day." But Otsu said this was the last one. "Anyway, please talk to your wife again." "All right, I'll try talking to her." As soon as Yasuke got back home, he talked to Otsu about it. "Why do you want money that much?" "Well, money will never do us any harm, and we can buy whatever we want. We can even start up our own business with the money." "If we have enough money to live a normal life together, that should be good enough." After saying these words, Otsu came back to her room. Since that day, Yasuke had been completely down. Otsu couldn't stand watching Yasuke being sad and finally made up her mind. "Okay, I'll weave a cloth once again, but this will be really the last time." Yasuke was happy to hear that, and Otsu, again, shut herself inside the room after warning him not to peek. Yasuke waited in front of the door for Otsu to come out. From inside the room, he constantly heard the sound of the weaving loom. However, that sound seemed to be much weaker than before. It had been already 5 days since Otsu went into the room. Yasuke was so anxious about Otsu that he couldn't keep himself calm anymore. He finally broke their promise and slid the door open, peeking inside the room. "Oh my God!" Yasuke involuntarily gasped loudly. He didn't see Otsu in front of the weaving machine, but instead, there was a crane there, plucking out its own feathers and weaving a cloth using those feathers. After witnessing this unbelievably shocking sight, Yasuke passed out right there. When Yasuke woke up, there was a piece of woven cloth right in front of him. The cloth was giving off an incredibly beautiful radiance as something otherworldly. At that moment, Yasuke suddenly heard Otsu's voice from somewhere far away. "I told you to never peek so many times. I am the crane who you saved before. Although I wanted to be with you, now it's impossible. You've found out. I hope you will be well. Farewell." "Otsu, please, wait!" Yasuke rushed out of the house. He distantly saw a single crane flying away beyond the mountains, far into the sky. Yasuke got down on his knees and reached out his hand towards Otsu, who was slowly fading away. "Otsu, please forgive me. Don't leave me." His cry vanished, like it was sucked into the continuously falling snow.
The young man and the crane loved each other, but they couldn't be together. How could they have the happiest ending? Is that really possible? Those questions come to my head every time I read this story. How did you feel about this story? Can you keep away from peeking inside of the room?